Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our Survivor 45 episode 4 predictions and power rankings, and we're doing our first crossover episode. We've never done this before. We have James Wallington, winner of the Amazing Race 32. I wanted to call it Survivor 32, but you're not Michelle.
Hey, are you manifesting a future season? I'm not mad about it.
I would watch that in a second.
Also of the challenge fame, we really have to throw that in there
Right.
too, because you went on the challenge and I think everybody thought you were just going to get smoked off the bat, and you did.
I know. I mean, that damn algorithm. I feel like if it was any other format, if it was this season's USA format, I think I would have fared a lot better socially and politically in the game.
Mm-hmm. Haven't turned on a single episode of the new one, so
I stopped after Lewis from the race got eliminated.
Actually,
when Alyssa from Big Brother got eliminated, that's when I turned it off.
Yeah. I heard Survivor players are doing pretty well, and I think Survivor players just do well on that show in general.
They're steamrolling it. They're. I just feel like the challenge is like made for survivors, but also like in their defense, they just, I think, are better at being loyal. And I think when it comes from like a Big Brother background, I think they're a little bit shiftier and sometimes not truly trusted. So I think Amazing Race is just better at being a cohesive group. Even if there is drama between them, they still stick together.
We need to have a different crossover season again, where we don't have the Amazing Race winning the Amazing Race over against Survivor and Big Brother people. Because I know that was shocking for everyone.
Yeah, no one saw that coming.
I really do think that Survivor or Big Brother would be a better version of that.
I've been saying this, and I'm not just saying it because now I bet on the race, but even before the race and being a fan of what I consider to be like the big three of reality TV, I would love to see Survivor do that type of crossover. I mean, it was great that Amazing Race did it, but I just feel like the formula of Survivor makes more sense. You have three tribes. I know a lot of people are against the 3-tribe format, but you have a Big Brother tribe, Survivor tribe, and an Amazing Race tribe, and then let them duke it out and see which show can come out on top.
Yeah, we've hit 2 of the 3 points of the triangle because we have a Survivor player on Big Brother now. We've had a Big Brother player on Survivor. We need the Amazing Race and Survivor. So I hope it happens. I feel like it's like inching closer, but I don't know. Survivor is very pure, I feel, for better or for worse.
They did bring over 3 racers to Survivor. Originally, it was Natalie and Nadia, and then Mike White. So I feel like there's room. There's room for it. There's room for it. It would just be really fun to see, I think.
I did not know that Mike White was on The Amazing Race.
Totally forgot.
Twice with his dad. They were so cute.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He did Unfinished Business way back in the day, right?
Yep. He came back with his dad for that season.
Wow. Mike White looks so young there. Okay. Not going down memory lane.
Coming off kilter here.
We're going to rank all these.
I love it.
We're going to rank all these people, and just in case you were wondering, like, here's Bruce just saying hello, James. So make sure
Bruce.
Make sure you rank him high. He's listening. I don't know if any of the other Survivor players are, so you can be as mean as you want to them.
Oh my God.
Although there really hasn't been much to be mean about this season.
No, it's been very positive. Yeah. It's a good cast. It's a good group. I really love all the different personalities. And I think with these 90-minute episodes, for the most part, because I know I've seen some like different Google sheets out there with the different confessionals, if you will, and there's some that still have 0 after a few episodes, but for the most part we're getting a good idea of who everyone is, and that makes it fun to watch.
I feel like there's really only 2 people who I know where they stand, not because of like them saying it, because of other people talking about them, but otherwise I feel like I mean, Yellow, there's only 3 people left, so we know them way too well. Blue, I feel like, is fairly distributed, and Red is just really weird. Like there's just the 2 people who are sort of sticking out as not being in an alliance and not getting a lot of content, which is very unfortunate for them.
It's all disappearing this week anyway. But James, people might be a little like confused. Why are you here? Right? You got your Survivor shirt on. You're on The Amazing Race. So let's just. I didn't even think to do this because we've talked to you so much about Survivor, and we saw you at the Survivor finale this year and everything. What's your feelings on Survivor as a whole? before this season? What do you think about this season now? I mean, you're wearing that shirt that I think, what is that? That's custom one of one that have been made in the world.
Yeah, right. No, I have been a longtime fan of Survivor. I mean, it was like my first love, almost kind of the same with Amazing Race. Like I watched both at the same time. It was a very family-oriented show that my family would get together and watch every week. So Survivor and Amazing Race have been very big passions of mine from the very beginning. I've never missed an episode. I've seen every season. Like I'm a super fan as well. I love talking about the show. And yeah, I mean, like I'm clearly a fan with this shirt.
Would you ever, or have you ever applied to be on Survivor? Did you apply to both? How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, around the time of Survivor Tocantins is when they switched the age limit to 18. And I applied. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, the age limit's younger. I didn't hear anything. And then during Survivor Samoa, I actually got a phone call. They watched my tape. They liked my application. So that was the furthest I had ever gotten with Survivor. But after that, it just switched to more focus on the Amazing Race. But yeah, I would love to do Survivor in a heartbeat. That's why I would love to see a little reality clash crossover on Survivor, but only time will tell. But I would be crazy to turn down an opportunity. It's a great game. It's a great show, and I'm a longtime fan.
I simply could not imagine you on Samoa. So I'm very happy.
Not with that rain. Hell no.
I was also going to say, I think there was only one person on Samoa, right? The other 19 people really weren't there as far as I could tell. So
fair.
It's good you didn't get on that because you probably wouldn't have been cast on The Amazing Race to win the show because they would have been like, who is that person?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer of timing and everything happens for a reason. And I just feel like the race was always meant to be my show.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Literally, Alexa. Well done. I just got that. Kevin Jager says, how about those Lions, Phil? And he gave us 5. So thanks, Kevin. And yeah, I was at the game yesterday. It was awesome, but I'll talk about that another time. James, if you never get on Survivor, this is the next best thing you could do. You're on the Survivor.
I was so excited y'all asked me to join. Are you kidding me?
So happy to have you.
I was just pumped that you were at the finale party for Bryce and Wen and that you remembered who we were, which was very nice. Sometimes people do the podcast with us and then it'll be, you see them in person and they're just like, who are you? What? I've seen you before. I don't remember that.
No, how could I forget y'all? No way.
There you
go.
Way. There you go. Well, you've pitched yourself to be on Survivor. You've pretended to be like Bruce. That's good. And now you're on our good side. So you're killing it. Obviously kidding. You do like Bruce. You're not pretending. But
I love Bruce.
He's the best.
Nobody on this season does. So we got to get into this ranking.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on with that?
I know.
We were talking before, and the three of us were trying to figure out if the tribes had been announced in any way. And every time that I would Google tribe swap season 45, the first thing that would come up would be Unspoiled Survivor. So I wouldn't click that because I don't want to know if they are now knowing how it's going to shake out. But if you scroll down, you can find some links that took that without taking any other spoilers, and they're just telling us what the tribes are. So we're going based on that, and I'm going to hope that they're correct. And if they're not, we're going to look like idiots. And if they are, all we know are the 3 splits because I don't know. I didn't read the article. I literally just scrolled down and I'm like, there's Bello, there's Lulu, there's Reba. If I could block out the entire rest of the screen, I would to make sure nothing accidentally gets spoiled. But we all see it now, right? Should I say them out loud? Do we need to hear them?
I would appreciate that because I haven't read that article.
And it would just be a fun hypothetical if it did or didn't happen. It gives us a little conversation.
A little bit. So let's talk about the way this broke down and figure out if this makes sense with the edit a little bit. And I'm just gonna go right to the elephant in the room, and I'm gonna go to the Reba tribe, which is D, Julie, J Maya, and Sifu. So 4 people from Red, and then Sean. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the fact that J Maya and Sifu have been on my screen for approximately 25 seconds out of this 3 hours. Is Sean now the swing vote rather than being the outcast on this 5-person tribe that looks like it's going to be 4 Red and just Sean?
I mean, they're probably a pretty strong challenge tribe, but also you're probably right.
Yeah, I think that I feel like Julie and Dee at least would view this as an opportunity to gain a number, because I feel like Sifu and Jay Meyer are on the outs of the original Reba tribe. So yeah, I would say that Sean would be a swing vote.
So Sean's stock definitely went up, considering last week he's left out of the vote. Clearly number 3. Caleb and Emily were going to be tight after that. So looks like Sean's stock went up. We'll talk about it when we actually rank them. Lulu, we got Bruce, and we got his girlfriend Katura. We got Jake, and then we have Kelly and Caleb. So again, 4 blue and 1 yellow. Crazy. That's twice now that this has been the split. What do we think about that tribe? And are Bruce and Katura going to just, is this going to come to a head right away?
I'm so happy they're together. I'm so happy.
It keeps it interesting because that's been some, I would say, drama we've seen over the last couple of episodes. And I feel like we wouldn't be seeing that so much if it wasn't going to come to a head eventually. So I'm glad that they are still stuck together if this is the true swap that happens.
And it makes it feel like it can happen now in the pre-merge. It's not just going to wait till the merge. If they got split up, I would be saying, okay, Katura and Bruce are fine until final 12 or 11 or whatever the merge is going to be, because they have to get there. Otherwise, why did we watch Katura just keep saying how bad Bruce was? So that's that one. I'll throw this up, Save Our Planet Entertainment with the donation. Alexa will be missed after the season is over.
Thank you so much.
Bello is Austin and Drew. So that's both from Red. We got Kendra and Brando, and then Emily. So that's the only tribe with at least one person from every tribe.
Yeah. And I think that is the tribe that I think I'm most excited to watch because of how it is divided up. And I've been a big Emily fan the last couple of episodes. And I think this actually really sets her up perfectly, because if they do stay by tribe lines, 100% Emily is a swing vote. And I almost kind of feel like she'll naturally gravitate to Kendra and Brando.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which would be very interesting to watch, since Austin and Drew feel like they're kind of power players right now. They have the idol and they were in a really good spot. So maybe Drew, I think Drew more than Austin, maybe he could be the one who gets kind of tribe screwed here for, you know, the nice way to say it. But so those are the tribes. Now we're going to rank them 1 to 15. We're going to say who's the safest all the way down to who we think is done. So James, I'm going to let you go first. Who are you going to put at number 1, assuming that these tribes are correct? Or you could just assume they're not, and you just think this person's really safe.
I'm going to put Emily at number 1.
I love that.
And I'm not saying that as like a bias, because I'm a big fan of hers. I just feel like she is actually in the best swap setup, if that is true. I think historically speaking with Survivor, when there's a swap or even merges, like usually original tribe lines stick for a little while because you want numbers and you want that security. And I think Emily's going to be kind of caught in the middle of these two duos. And I think Emily's actually had a pretty strong pulse on the game in terms of how relationships have been on her tribe and knowing when to like seize an opportunity. Like last week, she knew to go to Caleb and tell her about Sabaya's plan. So I just think that she's going to be able to assess the situation, and then she's going to go to the side she knows that will benefit her long term. So I think she's the most safe of anyone with the swap.
I kind of agree with you on that, because when you look at the way that shook out, I don't see Austin and Drew teaming up with Brando and Kendra. They don't seem like like-minded people in a lot of ways. So I feel like they're not going to want to do that. And it might be a battle for Emily. And I think Emily has gotten her, you know, whatever you want to call it, her personality under wraps coming into this week, because she went through so much on that yellow tribe and had to, you know, really be called out in front of everybody. And now she gets to come in and have a little bit of power, which is not something she's really had. She showed what she could do with the power last week, because she knew the information. She used it to her advantage, and Caleb did vote with her. So clearly Caleb trusted her enough that he said, okay, you're right, I will vote this way.
Yeah.
So that says something, because he could have easily just stuck with Sabaya and Sean and been wrong. but he really did trust her for one reason or another.
And she's also had this time of like self-awareness and growth through these conversations she's had with her tribe mates on Lulu, that like this is a fresh start for Emily to really start to apply those, self-growth moments of like leaving a good first impression. So I think she's going to be very aware of how she's going to come off in this new environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really I never see her swinging too far to like overconfident or cocky. I think she had a really humbling start. And even when even at the beginning, it was there was no cockiness. It was for better or for worse. The way she spoke is very matter of fact. And I think that's probably how she thinks. And I think she'll have a good bounce back. And like you said, James, this is going to be a really, really fresh start for her. And that's what we hear her say in the preview.
Yeah. It's going to start a new arc for her, and I'm excited.
We love.
Yeah, Emily's winter arc begins on Wednesday night. And we all see it coming. The slow motion train wreck is happening. It's coming. But Alexa, who do you have at 1?
I am actually going to put Bruce at number 1. I had him here. I think for the most part, I'm going to keep my predictions the way they were from before I knew about this split. But knowing that Bruce is on a Bello-dominated tribe, I think is naturally going to be helpful. Even though Katurah is there, I think people seem to like him more than they agree with her. So I think if that comes to a head, he will probably end up winning out, especially because he has Jake on his side. And Kelly, we saw sort of straddling the middle of the boys' alliance versus the girls' alliance. So, it's early enough that if she decides to not work with Katurah and Katurah goes home, there's kind of no skin off Kelly's back. And I feel like Caleb and Bruce could get along. They're both like extremely extroverted, very, very friendly. I think Caleb will fit in fairly well there. So I think Bruce is perfectly safe.
I actually go Kelly there, and I have her at number 1 because I do believe that, Bruce and Jake, we know are super tight. And it seems like Kelly, they were really trying to plant the seed that she's towing the line. She's not just with the women. She's not just with the women. She's not just with the women. Now, her number 1 is Brando, who's not there anymore. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem like she's going to just automatically go with Katurah. I think Kelly's going to want to go wherever Caleb goes. I don't think Caleb's going to be the boot here. He could be. They could team up 4-1. But Katurah feels like she's going to have the opportunity to take out Bruce by bringing in Caleb. And it's just going to be a matter of, is Caleb on board with what Katurah is saying? Or does he go back to Bruce and Jake because he gets along with them a little bit better? I don't know what it means, but for what it's worth, he did end up giving his clue, advantage, whatever you want to call it, to Drew last time. I don't know if that means he gets along better with the men. I don't know if that was his plan the whole time. But whatever it might be, I do see him going and relating more to Jake and to Bruce. Could be wrong on that, but either way, I think Kelly comes out safe because I think Katurah would be the one who's going to be the aggressor, and then that would mean she'd get targeted, or Caleb will just side with the women and decide, all right, Jake or Bruce, one of you is going home. So I think no matter how that shakes out, Kelly ends up in a good spot.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I have Kelly at number 2 for kind of a similar reason. I just she also, I know we're not talking about this too much, but she's proven herself, and Bruce too, to be extremely useful in challenges. And I think partly physical, but also mostly from the puzzle perspective. And even though it's getting closer to the merge and it doesn't, quote unquote, it doesn't really matter if you win or lose too much, you don't want to lose. And I think she and her whole tribe have been riding on such a high of never losing that they want to keep that momentum going. So I think Kelly's also completely safe.
Mm-hmm. James, what do you think? You don't have to tell us where you have Kelly, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm actually going to bump Kelly up a little bit on my ranking because of this conversation we're having. I do think she is in a better spot on that tribe than the other original Bello members. But I do think Sean is more keen to maybe forming a more stronger connection with Katurah and Kelly. And we saw in last week's episode, Kelly didn't seem to really have a bond with Jake necessarily. It was Kendra who had that one-on-one conversation, and Kendra brought that information back to Katurah and Kelly. So I think Kelly's going to be more inclined to continue to nurture her relationship with Katurah. And I think with that, I think Sean is just naturally going to gravitate to those two women.
It would be
and
Caleb.
I think
Caleb is the one who's supposedly there now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Caleb, sorry. And I think, which puts Bruce and Jake on the outs, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So I would say, Kelly would probably be my number 2 now that we're talking.
Okay. Yeah, and I wasn't thinking that I'd put Kelly this high until I saw the tribe breakout, and it sticks out to me.
Yeah, she was in my top 5, but not like top 3.
Mm-hmm. Not number 1, like not 1 or 2 where you're sitting there going, I really don't see how she goes home. It would have to be she's the aggressor, but I don't see her aggressively going after the bellows. So that's an interesting one. My number 2 and number 3 are going to go hand in hand. They're on the Reba tribe, and it's Dee and Julie. And I'll go Dee first, and I'll go Julie second, but you could flip-flop them. It doesn't matter. We have gotten so much content of these two. So much. And we didn't need to. That's the beauty of it, and that's what I love about the 90-minute episodes. Maybe one of them goes on to win, so we would have gotten a lot of this. But it was Austin and Drew. It was all that. They were the ones who had the idol clue, who were finding the idol, who were doing all that. And we got so many details about these two. And now they get swapped to a tribe with 2 people we haven't heard from, and Sean, who has 100% been the quietest person on Yellow thus far. I'm feeling really good about Dee and Julie, because if they were going to go out early, just looking back on what Survivor has done in the past, these are the type of archetypes that would have just been ignored to go home early. Mm-hmm. And they could have ignored it and kept telling the same story, or at least not giving them confessional content or whatever it is. I really like this swap for them. I think that either they're going to stick Reba strong, or Sean is going to come in with them, and it's going to be, let's get rid of Sifu and J Maya, because I don't think Sifu at this point really has much of a social game, because they haven't shown it at all. I think they would have shown something if it was there. So I'll go D2, Julie 3.
I think too, with last week's episode when Caleb came over to the Reba tribe, I feel like Julie and Dee were very much like, oh, Caleb's a gamer. Mm-hmm. And I think those two are going to recognize, like, we need to work with Caleb and bring him in as a number. Mm-hmm. See, I had Dee as my number 2 originally. But after our conversation, I bumped Kelly up. So I would put Dee at 3 and Julie at 4, specifically because of how much we got of them last week and this duo that's just kind of on the rise. And I've been really loving the screenshots of Julie on the beach, especially how she wears her buff. And then people putting a picture of Kathy Fabric O'Brien with the buff, and how much they look like they're sisters. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put Julie and Dee at 3 and 4.
I have not seen that. I love that. I also had them at 3 and 4. So to be very uninteresting, I have them in the same position.
It's just too easy. But yeah, I saw those pictures as well. And it really is crazy how similar they look.
It's weird.
Very weird. Very, very weird. The amount of hair that sticks out of the buff is almost the exact same.
And it's the same color too. It's like the dirty blonde.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I will say, like, coming into the season, I had really high hopes for Dee, but I'm very happy with how Julie's game has been going, because generally this is the type of person who gets overshadowed or doesn't go far or really get their footing in the game. She's got her footing in the game, and she's gotten the content to back it up. And I think that's what's really nice. This isn't a Heather situation where she's going to go to Final Four and we're going to sit here and go, what could have been? Julie is a character and a player, and that's really good to see, because coming into the season, I don't know where I put her in the bootless game, but it certainly wasn't very high. So I'm happy for her, and I'm happy that she got in with the Alliance. And just based on how they split up that screen time, I got to think that her and Dee are getting the better of Sifu and J Maya. If this tribe goes to tribal, they might not even go. Who knows? I'm the only one who hasn't done a 4. So
maybe we'll start to see Sifu and J Maya on the rise with this swap. Maybe Caleb will surprise all of us and work with those two. And then we start to see more of those two. But I would like to think that Julie and Dee are in it for the long haul.
Yeah,
totally.
I think they are. And I'll go with 4. And, you convinced me, James, and I didn't want to do this, so we wouldn't have the same top 4, just in a different order. But I'm going to put Emily. It's a really fair point. And when you look at the way this breaks out, I don't see Austin, Drew, Brando, and Kendra teaming up and voting out Emily. I just don't see it happening. And especially what's really working in Emily's favor, I think, is that it's 6-6-3. Those groups of 6 want to go into the merge with the numbers. So they have bigger fish to fry than Emily. Why would you get rid of somebody who's already on the tribe that's getting decimated and then go into the swap and potentially have a 6-6 split still? You don't want that. So I think that she's in a really good spot. And hey, we saw it back with Nick Wilson when Pat ended up having to get medevac. Sometimes if you can just survive that first episode, no matter what the reason is, that's all it takes. And if Hannah quitting was what it took for Emily to springboard, it could be. I mean, and I'm here for it because she is wonderful TV. And to see her go and the arc she's had in 3 episodes to then turn around and go to Caleb and say what she did to him and get him and convince him and all of that worked out. You could be sitting there going, she's the first or second most trustworthy person on that island right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can go to, I have Austin at number 5. I think I like can't figure out who on this blue tribe is going to work together. I buy what you guys are saying about Emily, but I don't know. I just feel like Drew and Austin are really close. I don't know if Emily and Kendra will work together. Like I can't figure out who's on that tribe, but I do think Austin is very safe. And it does have a little bit to do with him having an idol, but he is the only person who has a guaranteed, very, very trustworthy ally. They've really proven themselves to each other. And I think if it were to be between Drew and Austin, I think Drew talks about wanting to be the godfather a little more. And that's a little nerve-wracking to have an alliance member. So I think Austin is probably the safest on that tribe.
Yeah, Austin does have the idol, which helps him. But we just saw this backfire because now he's probably going to want to go into this tribal and not use his vote, right?
Totally. Yeah. Why would you? It's one vote.
It's one. And if you look at the way that tribe broke out, though, I don't know if he's actually going to have the opportunity to not use his vote if they go to tribal. That's going to be very huge. So my question then is, if he never goes to a tribal council, what is his idol good through? Because it says it's good through final 12 if you don't use your vote once. And then it was if you don't use your vote twice, it's good through final 5. So now if he gets to the final 12 without having to use his vote, let's say they merge at 12 and that's his first tribal council. If he uses that vote or doesn't use his vote there, is it now good through final 5 or does he have to do it again? I don't really understand. Or maybe they're just
that's a good point.
13, but it's weird.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of rules with the idols this season. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to keep up with because it's not so straightforward. But that's a really good question.
Maybe you'd have to sacrifice for like 2 tribal councils to get to the final 5. I don't know. Yeah, that's
because I guess my other question would be, if you sacrifice once, it's now good. You've made it through the final 12. So what does that get? What does that propel it to? That's really what the question is, because there is no, if your first tribal council isn't until final 12, then you're good. So I don't know. I wonder how that would be. Obviously that's in the future, but I wonder how that would work out for him, because if he starts getting to, if they go to tribal council at final 13 and it's his first tribal council and he says, okay, I need to use this so I can keep Drew. I understand him using it there, because what does it matter if you save Drew this time, or if Drew's gone and then you have to vote next week anyway. So I don't know. It's very strange. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right, guys, go ahead.
James, who do you have at 5?
At 5, I'm actually going to put Kendra. I feel like we're slowly starting to see like more sides of Kendra, especially with where her head is at in the game and how she's viewing the social dynamics. And I just feel like she's going to be the one to really seize this opportunity of Emily and like really branch out to like form this relationship with her, to win her over, to work with her and Brando. Yeah. I just feel like Kendra's kind of in a really good spot because no one's talked about her yet. And we haven't seen that kind of conversation about Kendra where I'm like, oh, she's going anytime soon. So I just feel like Kendra's like just really set even with this swap, I just feel like she's going to really connect with Emily. So that's why I have Kendra at 5.
So I have a side story here. So my wife is from Colorado, and her friend sent her a Snapchat this weekend where she was at the restaurant and she goes, "This person's on Survivor 45." And it was Kendra working behind her.
Oh my God.
And I don't know what to read into that, but if you made $1 million, you still going back to your job? I don't know.
Hey,
So,
we had to wait 2 years for our check. So I mean, like, you don't get it. You don't get it right away.
Yeah, you were living to hell with that. But I just thought that was a fun little side note. I don't know what restaurant it was. I didn't think to ask because I didn't want to accidentally slip up and say it. And then I'm the new person getting ripped apart on Survivor Twitter. But I thought that was funny. And it was just Kendra just working her job. And I was like, wow, there she is.
That's awesome.
These normal people who play Survivor. That being said, I don't have her at 5. Wasn't going to put her at 5 even before I knew that she was still working her job. That definitely doesn't pay $1 million a year. Like at my number 5, I am going to put, wait, I just totally lost it. I'm going to actually go with Jake. And my reason for Jake is because if Caleb goes with the boys, Jake is safe. If Caleb goes with the girls, it's Bruce. It's Bruce. It's Bruce. It's Bruce. It's Bruce. I just don't see Katurah being willing to go and vote out Jake when her whole entire narrative has been around, I want to vote Bruce out of this game. This would be a prime opportunity. If Caleb said, well, no, I kind of like Bruce, I think Katurah would then say, well, Caleb, I don't want to work with you then. Maybe we need to go work with somebody else. So I feel like Jake is really safe just by the circumstances of Bruce is there. And Bruce's number one enemy is there too. And that's what we've been told. It would be really weird if after everything we've been told, Katurah gets Caleb on her side and then turns around and votes out Jake.
That is a good point.
So I'm putting him at 5. James doesn't look like he agrees with me.
Yeah, with Jake, it's tough because there's been a lot of talk with him, I feel like, in the fact that he is a lawyer. And I'm just trying to figure out from like an editor standpoint, like why are we getting that so much? If that might just be his downfall. Maybe people are going to be like, you know what, let's get rid of Jake before the merge. So I'm not sold that he's like in the top half for me to be like he's safe. So yeah, he's a wild card for me. I don't know how to feel.
That's a good point about the lawyer thing because that has been focused on a lot too. I don't know though. I think that would come to a head later, or maybe it would be his downfall, like in the post merge when they're getting closer to Final Tribal or something along those lines. We don't want him to get to Final Tribal because of whatever. But I don't know. He also has the confessional of, I might have to jump ship and I'm good at swimming. And he's sitting there in his yellow buff as he is saying that. So it's blatantly after the tribe swap. Mm-hmm. So maybe they start talking about him, but I do feel like that's going to be more of Caleb trying to work both sides. And that's going to be Jake having a confessional after that. But I don't know. I don't think Jake's name would come up first. If Bruce went home this week, I would probably have Jake at number 14 in my power rankings next week.
Yeah.
But I just don't see him going before Alexa's number 1.
When you phrase it like that.
That's fair. A good point. I think on the flip side too with Katurah, she's done a really good job at hiding the fact that she's an attorney. And I think maybe watch her be at the end and be like, I kept that secret. I just feel like there's something going on with this Jake and Katurah narrative where it's like, it's setting them up to go far. And we're going to see this balance of like, he was very vocal about like, I'm a lawyer. And she was very more like, I'm keeping my cards close. Mm-hmm. Where maybe this is like a long-term narrative or it's going to be one of their downfalls. And if I had to pick one over the other, I think it's going to be Jake's downfall because Katurah chose to keep it secret. And I think Katurah might use that against him. So I don't know. I don't know. He's just such a wild card to me, but he's so likable too. Like he's just a likable guy. And after that moment last week with like Kendra and him, like he just seems like a well-rounded, nice guy and a likable guy. And I think from a social standpoint, then he might be a little protected with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's fair. If only he didn't have that accent. That is the only thing holding him back.
That's my favorite thing about him.
Of course it is. You're from Boston. That's the representation you've been craving. Is that
it's
gigantic
so good. It's like It's like Brett LaBelle's accent, but on steroids.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
He just got off his whaler and he is just in the
Yeah.
Hobbit. It's just amazing. It's so
Hobbit.
brutal. But James, who would you put at number 6 then? We're through our first third. So that's pretty much who you think is going to be. No way they're going home this week. We're getting into that middle ground now. Who you got?
Yeah, at number 6, I think I'm going to put Brando. And it's same reason that I said with Kendra. I just feel like Brando and Kendra are going to work with Emily. And I think they're going to have the numbers. And I mean, unless an idol play happens where like Drew or Austin find a way out of it, I just feel like Brando's also safe. He's been in the edit enough, but not like enough like some other people we've seen so far. And I don't know. I just feel like he's just kind of in the middle of the pack for me in terms of safety.
I wish we'd seen more. Last week, we didn't get anything of him, but a lot of people were talking about him and around him. And I thought that was interesting that we didn't get him stating where he felt he was.
Exactly.
He does have Kendra, which is good. He was talking about how he was fitting in with the girls and everything like that, but it does seem like him losing Kelly is big. It seems like that was really what was supposed to be the alliance there. So I have Brando a little bit lower, also because that tribe to me is the most 50-50. I don't know what's going to happen with that tribe. I kind of hope they don't lose this week so we can
an hour
and a half of them figure it out. And then
I don't want them to lose. Yeah, I would rather Bello lose because I just think that would be more interesting.
Yeah, I think that honestly is the most fun tribe. Austin, Brando, Drew, Emily, Kendra. That is, if you're casting a Survivor season, that's a fun group of.
Are they the new Bello?
They are the new Bello.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Oh, sorry.
Names.
Yeah. And then like I would rather have the tribe with Katura, Bruce, and Jake.
Yeah. It's not as interesting when it's 4 versus 1. Like even though there's dynamics in between them, we still know how they all work together. I think that's like why Bello, I don't know what to do with them because they're really all over the place.
So, Alexa, who are you putting at 6?
I'm actually going to put Sean at 6. I think that's probably high for someone who like literally has no allies, but he didn't do anything wrong. He was left out of the vote, presumably because it was expected that he and Sabaya were very close. I think he did a really good job. That tribe seems very close regardless of who voted with who. And I think he did a good job of like not overly alienating Emily the way that maybe Sabaya did that could have got her in trouble. And he is a total swing vote on this Reba tribe. And this group of 4 in Reba, only 2 of them are in an alliance. It's not like it's 3 of them and 1. It's really 2 and 2. And one of them, J. Maya, I really don't know why we're not seeing anything. She's had some secret scenes. She's been like, I don't know why they don't want to work with her. Sifu, I think I see why they don't want to work with him. So that being said, I think Sean could work with the quote unquote outcast, those 2, or he could get in on the big alliance.
Real quick, do you know Reality TV Fan, the account on Instagram?
Yes.
They like, I asked before we went live, like, hey, where did you find the tribe divisions? And I think prematurely the Survivor Fantasy page updated with the new tribe divisions because now it's back to normal. But it looks like Caleb and Sean are actually switched. It looks like Caleb is on the original, on the new Lulu with Katura, Jake, Bruce, and Kelly. And Sean is actually with Sifu, Julie, D, and J. Maya.
So that's what I have.
Oh my God. I've been totally. I've been here thinking Caleb is on the Reba tribe with Julie and D.
Caleb is on with all the blues. Sean is on with all the
Got
blues.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it doesn't affect my. It doesn't affect
a shout out. So that's what's really important.
Right? Love that
for them. Okay, it doesn't change or affect my placements then.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you look at the way that these tribe slots broke down, I don't see any of the yellows going home. Because the groups that they're with have been shown to have division. And I know that we see this a lot in Survivor, but when tribes finally get to go to a tribal, Alexa's about to yell at the dog. When tribes finally get to go to tribal after not going for a while, sometimes they can't stop themselves from going after who's been annoying them for the longest period of time. And I think that's what we're seeing with both of these tribes. It has been set up why they would vote out other members of their tribe first.
Yeah.
Emily's in a great spot. Caleb's in a great spot. Sean's in a great spot. I think really no matter how it broke out, the only thing I could see maybe happening is Sean, the group of red does decide to stay strong to vote out Sean, maybe. But because I don't know anything about J Maya and Sifu, I lean more towards Sifu or J Maya going home first and then Sean going and then not trying to use him, but maybe bring him in as an ally because he's definitely going to play up the fact that he was blindsided at this last tribal council. I think he's going to try to make allies because he doesn't have any. So I really like where the yellows stand. So I'm going to put Caleb at 6, and I still am going to hold off on Sean just a little bit. But, whatever the tribe swap is, right? Whether James's initial take was right or we were right. Whatever it is, Caleb's in a really, really good spot. Like, I think he is firmly in the middle, and we saw his social game on full display last week. And all anybody did was talk about he's a salesman, but he's really good.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good for him going into this tribe. And I think he's going to if that tribe loses, if Caleb's tribe loses, the person who goes home is going to be absolutely floored that Caleb didn't side with them, in my opinion.
Yeah. I really feel like Caleb's going to be more inclined to work with Katura and Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I think what I like about him is I feel like he can work with anyone.
Yeah, he's a chameleon. He could just blend in with like any type of social group. And I just think that's going to work in Caleb's favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's why I had him the highest at 6. And I honestly thought I'd see his name by now, but maybe y'all have him coming. Maybe you don't. But I just don't see him going home there. So, James, you go.
See.
Yeah, I was going to say Caleb's at 7 for me.
Okay.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Like
and
literally right in the middle.
I think it's a perfect spot for him. I think it is. In case anything goes really haywire and they're like, wow, this guy is a salesman, not in the good way. He is a salesman. Let's get him out of here.
I know I have Caleb a little bit lower, and so I'll get to him. I have Brando at number 7, kind of similar to you, James. I know we haven't seen a ton from him. I'm sorry. I'm dog-sitting a dog, and he has been barking, and he hasn't barked at me, except for right now.
This is from Sky Pads. Thank you for everything you do, y'all. Even silencing a dog on the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
You're killing it.
Want to be clear, I love this dog. I have Brando at number 7. We saw him it seems like he's fine with working with anyone, which I think going into a swap, especially on like a weird swap tribe, I think that's really good. He's fantastic at puzzles. I think people underestimate him because he's like 22. He's like kind of mild-mannered. I think there are a lot of personalities on his tribe, and I think it really benefits him that he doesn't seem to have an over-the-top personality. So I think Brando is very safe at number 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have Austin as my 7 because of the idol, and I think that will make him safer than Drew. And the other big thing is because of the advantage Caleb gave to Drew, which is the restore a vote, Austin now has his vote, even if he had never found the idol, which now he has officially found the idol, right? Because because he's the one who gave us the information, and that's why we knew that Sabaya was going in knowing that it was either going to be for one tribal or it could be multiple. So he has his, so it doesn't matter anyway, but they can take chances if either of them go on a journey or something like that, because they have the restored vote advantage. And so I think that really changes the way that maybe you play the game, because you are definitely going to do whatever the task is if you know all you're going to lose is your vote, and that's going to be given back to you. So I think that I'm going to put Austin here because he has an advantage. If he wants to try to swing for the fences and get another advantage in some way, shape, or form, he can also do that. So yeah, that's why I have him there. James, you can go at 8. I know you're getting the shirt compliment now, so I don't know if you're coming back to us.
I think I'm going to put Austin at 8.
Okay.
Because of the advantage he does have. He was a little bit lower for me, but just through our conversations, I'm like, I feel like he'll be smart if he needs to like do something with his advantage, he will. I guess I'll put him at 8. I feel like out of him and Drew, I think Drew is actually lower on the ranking for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Drew being bottom of that duo because Drew he's been kind of shown to be sneaky a little bit. He's been shown to be very forward, but then he also turns it around and he's the one who's been caught finding or digging for idols. And he's the one who's been kind of caught in the lies. And I love that somebody took the screen grab last week and was like, if you ever date Drew, this is the face when he's lying, because it was such a bad lying face. So I do worry a little bit for him. I think this tribe, though, while on paper might not look like the strongest, if it comes down to any sort of puzzle at the end, it's not really going to matter what the beginning portion is. Mm-hmm. And you could argue that Austin is the strongest person in this game right now. Caleb and Sifu would probably have something to say about that, but Austin could be, depending on what the challenge is. Right. And then they are so good at puzzles after that. They are all good at it.
You know what I was thinking, though? Like, we didn't really get much. When Caleb came back from Reba, we didn't really get much of him telling his tribe, like, what he thought or felt about Reba. Yeah. I don't know if that's a deleted scene or if maybe we'll see it. Maybe he'll give it information to Emily, just because now he knows he can trust Emily. I'm curious why we didn't get that. Like, why didn't we see like him report back about Reba?
Right, especially because there is going like, especially because a swap is coming up the very next episode.
But he doesn't end up with anybody from Reba at the
swap. Maybe that's
why.
Yeah, but he was very adamant. Like, I'll tell my tribe, like, we're good with Reba. We're good with Reba. So I'm like thinking, will that actually affect Emily's decision now? So I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, there's so many different ways to look at this.
That's really good. I didn't even really pick up on that, but that's a really good point, because if Emily just told Caleb and Caleb trusted her. So these two are tight now. So if Caleb says you should go with Reba, you might have
Brando and Kendra could be screwed. Yeah.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I don't think it's going to matter this week. I really think that tribe
unless they didn't put it in specifically because Emily doesn't stick to that. It doesn't make a good story point because it doesn't go anywhere.
It's true.
But it was just a thought I just had when I was like, wait a minute. Caleb said, like, I'm going to tell my tribe, like, Reba, we're good with Reba. And,
Caleb also, though, just from an outside perspective that really doesn't matter to this episode, but Caleb has now a connection to all but 2 people who are left in the game. And no, I'm sorry, all but one. The only person he has spent no time with is Brando, because Kendra went to his island at the beginning of the game. We didn't see that, but she did. He was on.
Why aren't they showing that?
I know.
It's so weird.
It is weird. I have Kendra at 8 just to piggyback on this, because she does have a relationship to whatever extent with Sean. And I think Sean really, really needs someone. So am I mixing something up?
Yeah, you're on the wrong tribe there.
Emily, sorry. We keep mixing up all the yellow players. Oh my God. Emily and Kendra are 2 people who seem to really need each other. And Kendra and Brando have been on the same tribe. So that's how they could sort of overpower Drew and Austin, because I think Drew and Austin will not be able to lie about the fact that they are very tightly allied, which I think naturally is going to make those 3 want to work together. I also don't think there's anything particularly like intimidating about Kendra right now. And I mean that in a good way. I think people won't see her as like super duper strategic. And I think that really could benefit her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have Sean finally at number 8, and then I have Kendra at 9. And my reason, again, I really think that tribe So Sean, I already talked about a whole bunch, but I really do believe that the new Bello is the strongest based on what new school survivor challenges are. And none of those players either have shown to be weak in any facet of any of the challenges. They've all been good. They've all done what they've had to do. Nobody has put their tribe way behind. The biggest thing that happened was when Kendra slipped and sent the entire female population into like an audible gasp, because that was the only time that we saw anybody fall behind. And then she got right back up and she finished the challenge and she was totally fine. So I think that they're the strongest from that sense, which is why I will put Kendra at 9, and I'll have it come down to Drew or Brando being the two who go home from there. But I think that if I had to say, if somebody said you have to take one tribe and say they're not going to tribal council this week, that's the one that I think is the safest going into this week. So I will have them all a little bit higher than I have Bruce and Katura, who I haven't gotten to yet. And then Maya and Sifu, who I have also not gotten to yet. So, yes, I come into my final 6. Kendra is just ahead of that. So I think Kendra's pretty much the last person I think isn't going home this week. And I think it was a good point, Alexa, where she's not seen as threatening as a Brando. Brando's scary as you get closer to Emerge. I don't think people are looking at Kendra that way yet.
Right.
Who do you have at 9, James?
I'm going to put at 9 Sean.
Okay.
For a lot of the reasons we've already said. Yeah, he kind of just sits there in the middle for me.
Mm-hmm.
With this swap, I don't feel like he's in a spot where like the original Reba is going to be like, let's take out Sean.
Yeah.
Especially with how good of a gamer Julia and D are. I just feel like Julia and D are going to recognize like, oh, this is an opportunity for us. And J Maya and Sifu they're at the bottom for me. So I'm going to say Sean at 9.
Yeah, I think we're kind of all in agreement on that. I don't know where Alexa stands, but I've hinted, I think, a lot that J Maya and Sifu are near the bottom.
Yeah, I think we all have some fairly similar, like bottom 4-ish. I'll put Emily at number 9. I was nervous for her, but after talking and like putting together like her and Kendra, which could maybe make her, Brando and Kendra a group, I think Emily is probably safe. I think it's nerve-wracking because still a lot, other than Kendra, people only know her as the person who antagonized Bruce to start the game. And that Caleb and Sean can see her differently, but these first impressions are going to sort of rear their heads. So I do think that, now she knows how to play a little bit. So I think she'll be able to come back from that. But that's why I have her still in like the bottom half. But I think she's on an upward swing. It would feel very weird for her to go home right now after this redemption that she's had.
Yeah, you had her the lowest out of us by a lot. That's James's number 1. That is, so he's feeling good there.
Watch, she's going to be voted out now.
She's going to be voted out.
I love her. I absolutely love her.
After 3 weeks of us all assuming Emily's going to go home, now she'll go home the week that she should be the safest. But I am, I thought about it, and that's why I didn't say it originally, but I am going to just kill the Bello tribe here in a positive way. Kill in a positive. I am going to put Brando at 10 and Drew at 11. I'm the lowest on Brando, and it seems like I might be the highest on Drew, or I guess I just skipped both of your 10, so you could both have them higher. But Brando, I just see as a strategic threat, but I do agree that Emily should probably go with Brando and Kendra. The biggest issue is if Austin does play his idol, they're landing on Brando. They're not landing on Kendra. So that's why I put Brando there. But then I put Drew at 11 because they might be able to pull one on Austin and Drew, and they don't see it coming. And Drew goes home when Austin's got the idol in his pocket, and they're thinking, wow, we're in a really good spot. We've seen this happen before, and I could absolutely see it happening because I think people are going to underestimate Emily because of her blow up on the beach, and because what has she really done to prove to these other tribes that she's changed in any way? So that's where I'm going with those two. Brando at 10, Drew at 11, and then my bottom 4 people, it's 2 from the new Lulu and 2 from the new Reba. So James, who's your 10?
My 10 is actually going to be Katura.
Okay.
I I just think with the dynamics that we saw on the original Bello, especially Kelly, her like connection to the guys was Brando. And now she doesn't have Brando. She has to fully now rely on Katura, a relationship she also has already kind of nurtured. And so I think in turn, those two are going to come together. And I feel like Kelly and Caleb are actually going to really hit it off. I feel like they both are gamers. They have a strong pulse on the game. And I think that's going to open this opportunity for the three of them to work together. And it might actually pay off for Katura to, get Bruce out because she's been so vocal about it. I just feel like we've seen Katura talk so much about Bruce. And I also feel like we've seen her interactions with Jake where she's like playing down the fact that she's a lawyer and asking him questions about being a lawyer, that I just feel like she's going to get one of them got. Like it's going to be Bruce or Jake at one point, and she's going to be the responsible for it. So I just don't think Katura is necessarily safe. I also don't think she's necessarily unsafe. That's why she's still kind of in the middle for me. But then shortly after her, like an 11th for me is Drew. Because I just feel like Drew is at the bottom of this new tribe for him, which is what the new Bello. If he's on that tribe, I just feel like he's at the bottom for me.
Yeah.
So I would say Katura 10, Drew at 11.
So the first one to say Katura, unless Alexa, do you have Katura at 10?
I do not know. I have Jake at 10, which is pretty low for someone who I think is fairly safe. So I really don't think he's going to go home. I just think out of like, he probably has like, I hate to do this, like the weakest storyline out of the people on his tribe. I don't really know where he stands other than liking Bruce. Like, I don't even know if we've gotten a lot of strategic content between the two of them. And I actually have Caleb at 11. So I love him and I think he's great, but I interpreted his Reba visit to not have gone as well as he thought it did. I thought like hey, I want to talk to each of you individually. I think the way he presented it was a little like overly strategic. I don't know. I think, and I don't know if it was a secret scene or maybe I read somewhere, but like that, I feel like that would make me feel a little weird. Like I want to just start digging into all of you. I think maybe it was Dee or Julie who said it because they're perfect. But I think he's really, really good socially, but he might be too good. So all that to say, I think there's enough like tension between the original Bellows on this new Lulu that he's probably okay. But people already seem to have like a really good vibe for him. Like Drew, who hadn't even met him, like before he met him, he was like, Caleb's running that tribe. He's in charge. So I think there's some like general vibes around Caleb that make me a little nervous for him because he's so good.
And James, what do you think? Do you think that it was a good visit or a bad visit for him?
I think it was bad. I think he kind of overplayed his hand in terms of his charisma and this like personality he exudes. And because we see with this Reba tribe, the gamers like Julie and Dee, they had him clocked immediately that like, oh my God, like this guy's here to play. Like he's a gamer. He's someone to keep an eye on, but he also didn't have that FaceTime with the original Bello tribe. And if he is going to be on a tribe with majority Bello people, if he does keep that up, then yeah, maybe people are going to peg him too and be like, he's got to go before the merge. I mean, if they're smart, as much as I like Caleb and what he brings to the show, they need to get Caleb before the merge.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But I just don't know if they're going to do that in this new swap because they might see him as a number. As opposed to like we should take him out before the merge. But I do think he comes off a little strong with how charismatic he is, and in a social game like this and how forward thinking a lot of these particular players are, they already kind of have him pegged. Like they know that he's gonna be good.
It reminds me of the Adam Klein situation in Millennials vs. Gen X, where it seems like it could go one of two ways, but then it landed with the more social person just being in the middle because the rest of the people couldn't really get it together. And Adam could have easily just gone with Figgy and Taylor and everything would have been fine. but he knew that for his game, if that started going down, he was out. They were never going to split. So he had to get rid of them. And I do think Caleb right now is just looking for any in. And I think those other pairs. Yeah. And those two pairs are sitting there saying, well, if we get Caleb, we're still good, because if we keep losing, we can get rid of Caleb. But Caleb doesn't have that Adam situation of, oh, I can pick which side, and one of the sides, maybe I'll be top 2. There is none of that here.
And that's why I think he's going to be more prone to work with Katurah and Kelly, because he's going to be like, they need me, but then they're going to vote how I want them to vote between Jake and Bruce.
Yeah, good point.
And I feel like Katurah and Kelly are going to be like, oh, well, like, he's willing to vote with us. Like, we need him. Let's just do what he wants and appease him right now, because like we need a number to like make this move on a Bruce or a Jake situation. I don't know. It's just going to be so interesting. But I feel like he's got to go before the merge.
If he doesn't, he's dangerous. He's really, really dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, who's your 12? You're ready to go.
I'm going to put Drew at 12. And this is pretty low for somebody who, we all have him pretty low for somebody who is in a major alliance, has been, I don't want to say nothing but honest, but he's been very, very, like whenever he was threatened, he then promptly was honest. Everyone knows that he has the safety without power, and there's kind of nothing that they can do about it. So he can just like nope out of a tribal council if he wants to. It's not like an idol where people can really play around it. So all that to say, I think just like cockiness always makes me really nervous. So I think I have him a little lower. That being said, he's probably okay.
And honestly, like, I'm still floored with how open he was with Caleb, that he had that.
I couldn't believe it.
That was
the fact that he made such a rookie mistake like that. Like, I'm sorry, but it was a kind of a rookie mistake. You're telling information to someone from an opposing tribe that they could easily use against you down the line. I mean, like, he seems a little too trusting with information like that. And like, let's say he does tell Emily. And Emily's like, oh, well, you know what? Like, I'm going to go to Brando and Kendra and be like, I'm going to pretend like we're going to make Drew and Austin feel really safe, and pretend like I'm going to vote with them to one of you. And then she votes with Brando and Kendra on like a Drew situation to flush that advantage. He's just too trusting. And I think that's going to backfire on him. I just still can't believe he told Caleb he had that.
The safety without power could be really good in this situation, because if they start to catch wind that it's going to be them, he leaves, Austin plays his idol. They're fine. It doesn't matter. You're good. But I don't know if they're going to catch wind, because I do think that eventually Drew's truthfulness is going to lead to him being lied to. You're giving too much information to other people. And in Survivor, knowledge is power.
And we saw that with this last episode. Sabiyah confided in Emily, and Emily seized that opportunity and twisted it to her advantage, still went along with the plan, and completely blindsided Sabiyah. So I just feel like it could happen again. And I think Drew could be a casualty of that, because he just seems a little too trusting.
Yeah. And you know, I am big at watching confessional counts. I think it's so much fun to review. Drew has the second most left in the game. Well, Emily and Caleb both have 18, and then Drew has 17. But after Sabiyah went home with 23, anything can happen on this season with the hour and a half episodes. We're seeing a lot more time with certain players and with certain parts of the game. So I'm not necessarily convinced that Drew is going to be a star of the show, because he has started out as a star of the show. Brandon went home
an early boot.
Yeah, Brandon went home episode 2. He has more confessionals still than the entire Blue Tribe. Nobody on the Blue Tribe is even close. So I really am not convinced that Drew is in a great spot, but the safety without power could be beneficial. And I just think that tribe is too strong. That's all. That's really for me more than anything. James, who do you have at 12?
I actually had Bruce.
That's
guys.
Yeah, I think I have Bruce at 12, but part of me wants to bump Drew down more now after this conversation we just had. Yeah, I had Bruce at 12. I just still feel like there's some kind of narrative going on with this lawyer thing. I don't know why it's been so talked about for Jake specifically. I just feel like it's got to backfire at some point, or it's going to be one of those things where he gets to the end and no one did anything about it. And everyone's like, well, shit, we knew from the get-go he was a lawyer and none of us did any. Like, I just feel like there's been so much emphasis on his profession where I'm like, I think if, let's say, Caleb is in the power position to like team with Katurah and Kelly, I feel like he would maybe want to be more open to working with Bruce over someone like Jake, because I just feel like Bruce and Caleb actually could. Damn, I feel like Bruce and Caleb could work well together too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem like they would really like each other.
That's the most interesting tribe.
It's it's tough to like really peg that tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the Bello tribe the most, but I think the new Lulu tribe is the most interesting. And I think that though, because there was so much infighting with Blue, it's really hard to tell. Now I do have Katurah at 13 because I had Bruce at 12 as well. And I put Katurah right behind him. My biggest reasoning for this, for putting Katurah below Bruce, is just that Kelly had so many confessionals about not being a part of this all girls thing the way everybody thinks she is. She's keeping her options open. Brando's her true number one. She's willing to work with the guys. That's the kind of game she wants to play. We've seen that so much from her. And Katurah had that amazing first episode. And then episode 2 and 3, it was, where's Bruce? I want to kill him. Like, that's all she talked about the entire episode. It was crazy. And so I put her below them because I could see Kelly being willing to work with the guys. If Caleb says, I'm going to work with you, I could see Kelly saying, you know what? I'll do it too because I want to save face. I want to be on your side. I want to show that I'm still with you. It's not a big deal. Fine. Let's get rid of Katurah. It keeps me in the game. Right. And I do think that Kelly and Caleb, James, I agree with you, should get along the best on that tribe. Yeah. But I think if Caleb's looking for a pair, I think Jake and Bruce are the type of weird funny that Caleb likes. I think Katurah and Kelly are almost a little too normal for what Caleb is going to be looking for. I think he's going to look for the weirdos more. And
he
Kelly
needs a little fun after this start.
What was that?
He needs some fun after this start.
He's been living in hell for 9 days or whatever it is. But still, I think Bruce is an older version of Caleb, and I think Jake is I don't know if they're the same age, but I'll say a younger version of Caleb because Jake just looks like a baby out there. But that's what I'm getting from it, and I think that those just little personalities right there could be all it takes to get him. But then again, he sided with Emily. So what the hell am I talking about? Because she's like she was the least fun person in Survivor history for 3 days. So maybe, I don't know. It's tough to figure out, but I'm going to put Katurah at 13.
Okay.
I have her at 13 also because my 14 and 15 are J Maya and Sifu. I think they're like a level below where Katurah is. But like I said, when I put Bruce at number 1, is she is the one who seemingly has an issue with him. And it does seem to be a bit of a one-track mind thing. And I could see maybe if they go to tribal council, someone could suggest someone other than Bruce, and that could bother her. Or she like oversells wanting Bruce gone. And again, people seem neutral to positive on Bruce. I know though Kelly did, actually, I'm realizing this. Kelly, when sitting out of that immunity challenge, said Bruce is so annoying, or like Bruce annoys me sometimes. Yeah. So maybe I shouldn't have put him at number 1.
What did you think of Bruce, James, when you met him? Was he the most annoying person ever? Did you like him?
No, I really liked Bruce. Awesome. I thought he was so friendly, so warm. He seemed very excited about just having the opportunity to play again. And like, he came up to me and I just thought he was just so friendly and very warm. But I can also get it from like a perspective of like, if you're new to Survivor, I mean, of course, Bruce, didn't have longevity on his season. Yeah. But still, with him coming back, I mean, Emily already seemed turned off to it in the first episode. Maybe this is this narrative with Bruce, and maybe it's going to continue where everyone's like, let's just get Bruce out. Yeah. I feel like it's just this common mindset where if someone comes back where they have had the time or the experience already, it's usually kind of like a target or a reason to vote someone out. But I like Bruce. I really like Bruce.
After meeting him, the last thing I expected was this to be the edit, and I'm finding it kind of funny because it was so unexpected. And like when I met Bradley before season 36, and when he was on TV, I said, "Yeah, that's what I expected from Bradley." And I was talking to him a lot through that season. I still talk to him to this day. Bradley is the same way he was on that show in real life. Like that is the guy you're getting. So I wasn't surprised. But Bruce, I really am surprised. And I'm not sitting here just talking him up because he's sitting over here in the chat or whatever. I really was surprised that that's where they've been going. But they are going out of their way to tell us that he is annoying. They are making sure that they capture the audio from a really hard to capture soundbite to make sure we hear Kelly say he annoys me sometimes.
But that's almost like why I have Bruce so low.
Yeah.
It's because if this is the edit, if this is the trajectory for Bruce this season, like eventually it's going to catch up to him.
Totally.
And that could be his downfall. And that's why I'm like, I feel like Katurah is going to be the one to be like, I got ya. I really do think that that's just ultimately how it's going to play out, because Bruce, from what it seems, is a little oblivious to that perception of him. So yeah, that's why I just have Bruce so low, but I also have Jake lower than Bruce just because of this whole, like, there's just this obsession around his profession of being a lawyer. And I'm still not quite understanding it, unless it's because it's ultimately going to be his downfall or it's going to be ultimately why he wins the whole damn show. I don't know. It could go either way.
Now, do you have him at 13 or do you have Sifu or J Maya ahead of him?
I have Jake at 13. Okay. But even when we're talking about confessional counts, though, like I know, Phil, you brought it up, I like to look at that stuff too. And you're right. I think from just an editing standpoint, people who come off the gate strong or have a lot of, confessionals usually don't go far in the game, just because if they're a big character early on, Survivor wants to exploit that. They want to get that out there, be like, they're a big character, and it keeps things interesting before like it shifts to a merge type of game.
Yeah.
With J Maya and Sifu, I only put them so low because as a viewer, we don't know anything about them. And they always seem on the outs. They clearly were not really in any of the social strategizing on the original Reba tribe. But then also, like, maybe that's going to work in their favor in terms of these rankings, where I'm like, maybe J Maya and Sifu should be higher because as a viewer, we don't know them. And maybe that's why, maybe because eventually maybe this swap is going to be when we see the shift of like J Maya and Sifu coming out on top. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe this is going to benefit them. And now we're going to start to see their story develop. It's just from an editing standpoint, it's so interesting. But because I just don't know anything about them, they're the bottom two for me. And I'd put J Maya above Sifu.
So you have Sifu being the one who goes home.
Yes.
Same here. Yeah, it's very unfortunate that we haven't seen much of them, and the reason that I have her higher is because he is who we've seen having more like negative content. Like he's the one like making spy shacks and running around. J Maya, there's just like nothing.
Yeah.
I was reading something where she is the least edited player through 3 episodes, other than Heather. And what's crazy about that
90-minute episodes
is it's 90-minute episodes. That's the craziest part. J Maya has had 2 confessionals, and I don't know if she's just exhausted or what it is, but whenever they've shown her, she looks tired. She had the one good confessional about, trying to solve the puzzle. And other than that, when they showed her with D and Sifu in the shelter, she looked exhausted and beat. And then when she got up and she was looking with Julie and D because she caught them, she looked like she was tired and she wasn't having the time of her life. And I feel like this is a person that was definitely cast because she has a huge personality. I mean, she's got a huge following on social media. And I feel like there's a lot more to her, but she might just not be in it mentally and physically. I don't know. I'm guessing because I literally know nothing about her. I will put her at the bottom here instead of Sifu, and I'll put Sifu at 14, mainly based on tribe strength. If you lose the first one when everything just evened up 5-5-5, I think you want to get rid of your weakest air quotes member, because that tribe, if you actually look at that tribe, you have Sifu, Sean, D, Julie, and J Maya. that is the weakest of these three tribes from a physical standpoint. Sifu's big and he's good, but Sean is down there. I'd say Brando might be a little bit weaker, but Sean is definitely down there. And then Julie's the oldest woman on the cast. Dee hasn't really shown anything from a physical standpoint. Neither is J. Maya. So I do believe that if they lose, they might want to keep Sifu to try to prevent themselves from losing 3 in a row. Now, if you're Dee and Julie, you might say, doesn't really matter. If we go to the swap, if we go to the merge and there's only 2 of us left and we still have Drew and Austin, who cares? But you also don't know what kind of relationships are being formed on those other tribes and if you're still going to be as close as you thought you were. We saw that happen in Kageyam with Tony screaming Final 5 and all of a sudden Sarah going, wait, what? Thought we were Final 5. So I think that's why I would lean that direction and put J. Maya at the bottom spot. Good but point. I would not be shocked at all if they lose and vote out Sifu just from a social standpoint, because we have not heard anybody talk about how they're really loving being in a social bond with Sifu at all.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
I'm very curious to see.
We'll see. Similar finishes, though.
Now, before we let you go, James, who do you have winning this season? I'm going to make you give one, but if you want to say like 2 or 3 people that you think are up there, we're going to make you narrow it down.
Up there for me is Dee. I just think she's got her head in the game. She seems to be loving the experience too, which I think from a mental standpoint in the game that helps. I think just always having a positive mindset. So I just think Dee, I think, is in it for the long haul. It's tough, but she really is. She really is. I think the only like standout for me. I mean, maybe I would say Jake too. I mean, even though I ranked him so low, I'm telling you, it's either going to be this profession's going to be what got him, or it's going to get him to the end, and everyone's going to be like, "Damn, like this is why we should have gotten rid of him."
Yeah.
So I think he's one of those people that could go either way. So I'm gonna say Dee or Jake.
I really like how the 90-minute episodes have made it hard to figure out who's going to win. Because I hated like subconsciously figuring out who the winner was. And this has made it so hard. And I really like that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. But those are, Dee is just so like consistent. Jake, again, either way. So that's why I'm like, he would be a surprise for me just because of how much he's being talked about with just this profession obsession. So
the only other one I would want to ask you about then is Kelly. I know you put Emily at number 1, but I think we all see the reasons why Emily wouldn't be the winner of the season. If she could have the story, but I'd see it. You put Kelly at number 2. Alexa put her at 2. I put her at 1. What is kind of stopping you from putting her in that same spot that you have Drew and Dee?
I think because I don't know, maybe if it's just how I perceived it. Just like I didn't feel like we got much of her until episode 3.
Yeah.
Like private one-on-one with Kelly. Which is why I think from an editing standpoint, Dee's been the most consistent for me. But I mean, I know a lot of people online are very like pro Kelly, like they want Kelly to win. And I can see a path forward for Kelly to win it for sure. I feel like I don't know as a viewer too much yet to really make that guess.
I definitely think that's fair. Yeah.
But I mean, she would be there. I would put her in my 3 with Jake. It would be like a Dee, Jake, Kelly situation. One of those 3 to me, I think, have the best path forward. Jake is a wild card, but yeah.
I love that. Well,
like it. Yeah.
So before we let you go then, what are you up to right now? Because I know are you doing the Amazing Race recaps and things? What's going on?
Yes.
Yeah, Will and I are doing recaps for this season of The Amazing Race on our YouTube. We do them every Sunday around noon Pacific Standard Time. It's been a really fun season to recap. Going from the show and coming back and being on the couch and being a fan. I'm once a fan, always a fan. So it's been really fun to just watch from the comfort of my home and loving the 90-minute episode just because we get a little bit more of the teams, but sometimes I feel like it's dragged out a little bit. But I just love that Survivor and Amazing Amazing Race are back to back on Wednesday nights. Like for me, like this is my Super Bowl. Like Wednesday nights are my nights of television. Like I am just so happy it's back to back. But
3
other than
hours
that,
now.
yeah, 3 hours of television. My God. But other than that, no, like life has been really good. My husband and I, we just bought a house, so we're just getting settled in and doing some remodeling. Thank you. But life is good. No complaints.
Good.
Awesome stuff.
That's good to hear. And go check it out. What's the name of the YouTube channel?
It's just Will and James. Our names.
Nice,
yeah, and our recap is called The Pit Stop, obviously with
cute
a name for the race. But
love that.
Hopefully I'll see the two of you again one of these days at another viewing party, and it'd be great to run into both of you again.
Yes, I definitely am hoping to get out to some. I don't know if I can do any of the Bryce and Wendell this year, but definitely would be looking to in the spring. The fall's just the worst. Like getting out,
there's a lot going on.
Is my nightmare. So I'm like,
yes, yeah, the fall stuff, especially with all the holidays. That makes sense. That makes sense. But I'm sure our paths cross again, and I'm very grateful that you asked me to join. I love talking about Survivor too. So anytime.
Of course. We can't wait to see you on Survivor season, 62 or whatever.
Survivor Reality Clash. Yeah.
If enough people say it, it's going to happen eventually. And you know what? They've had nothing but good from their Big Brother people. They haven't put an Amazing Race on, but they've had nothing but good. I mean, Caleb, you can say what you want, but he had one of the most insane medevacs of all time.
Yeah.
And then came back and went in pretty crazy
Natalie
won.
Natalie won.
Hayden was phenomenal.
Look, the two Amazing Racers they put over made it to the final tribal council.
That's such a good point.
Who was the other? Oh, because
Mike White. I keep forgetting about Mike White.
I feel like that says something.
Yeah. I mean, it clearly Amazing Race and Big Brother people can play Survivor. It's just a matter of if they want to go that route. And right now, doing the build-in, my wife has never watched The Amazing Race, and we'll sit here and we watch these episodes, and they do those really awkward, I call them the awkward promo, where it's always no music and, hey, did you guys get this? How did you get that? And then somebody saying it, and it somehow builds intensity without doing anything to manipulate your feelings. It's just them talking. And she goes, I kind of want to watch that. So I wonder if this is working. And they just did they're doing a 100-day season of Big Brother with Cirie on it. I mean, the challenge is not working, so do it.
I know. I mean, like, I feel like Cirie crossing over to Big Brother I think it's just testing the waters to see the limits that CBS can go. And like, even before the Challenge USA was a thing, I've always said like they needed a crossover show where their 3 shows are always like, there's such cult followings for these shows. There's a reason why they're so successful. There's a reason why they've been around for years. People literally get invested in the characters on these shows. Like CBS does a really great job. And I just think that crossovers work, even though some fans find it very polarizing. There's a reason it works. It's because it brings in new viewers who are invested in someone now on another show. And I just feel like there's so much room for CBS to play with.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I'd be down. James, I know your passion for the show, and I appreciate the shirt and you coming on and
so good.
But, I mean, I agree.
We're gonna need
there's
one
a lot
of
people, and I think there's that desire to show that you are better at whatever other game, right? I mean, that was Natalie Anderson when she came into San Juan del Sur. It was, once Nadia went home, it was, no, I'm going to prove that we are good at this, and she did. So it's a fun idea, and hopefully we talked about it enough that somebody's listening. But if they're
one of these days, I feel like it's bound to happen.
I mean, season 50, they have to do something spicy because we already did all winners. Like, I feel like legends or whatever, the rivals, those are still going to be really hard. So I feel like this is a accessible, big bash.
And I think one of the biggest problems with legends at this point, they're getting old.
Yeah, I know, because I'm biased. Like, I'm an old school Survivor fan. Like, there's so many memorable characters from the seasons 1 through 10 specifically for me, where I'm like, I would love to see some of those people still get a second chance. And I know a lot of them still to this day are like, if Survivor called, I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I'm like, especially for a milestone season like 50, that would be the time to really, I feel like, go back to the, like, pay homage to the original seasons that made this show what success it is today.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
this show wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for the first 10 seasons of the show, in my opinion. It's completely, it would be so fun to see like a redo of just like the early survivors and just seeing them in this new era. I think that would be such an incredible chance, like an opportunity. And like what Zach just said in the chat, like a last chance for legends. Like that would be so cool. And it would just, I don't know, it just pays respect to the OGs that really paved the way for this show.
Yeah, because when I say they're
100%.
getting old, I don't mean like that is a bad thing. I just mean it as how much longer are you going to be able to, you forget Lex was almost 40 when he played the first time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a Survivor legend for a lot of people. He's over 60 years old now. I mean, that's crazy. You're not
wild.
The same person out there again. So I do think that it's a cool idea. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with 50 for sure, but we've gone almost an hour and a half. So James,
let's get some dinner.
We'll let you get to like dinner or whatever you do out there. But thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. I'll be back Wednesday night. Alexa's out this week. I'll be back Wednesday night. I don't know who I'm co-hosting with yet. Just keep putting my feelers out there to see who's interested. So tune in for that. I could do it alone. There might be somebody with me. I don't know. But James, thank you so much. It's fun to have you on.
Thank you, James.
Hopefully this season ends as well as it started.
Absolutely.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.